Good afternoon. Let me make that a little bigger. There we go. Coming up here on 2 p.m. local time on Wednesday, December 28th, 2022, here in Sarasota, Florida. For the second video in a row, this is intended to just be an energy check-in where I drop a few points, mostly 99.9% of which are only going to mean something to me. But in the midst of doing that, trying to weave together a number of not so small things that continue to transpire in my very real present day life, and knowing that some big shit is coming together here for me in 2023. So I'm really just trying to keep myself centered, to keep myself balanced, from I need to ensure or try to ensure that I don't get too excited, that I don't start counting my chickens before they hatch, as they say, and yet to acknowledge that there are aspects of what is happening that are definitely shareable, worth sharing, if only to spread a little bit of the excitement and joy and positivity that is going through me as I continue to live this very wild present day time in my life in sort of the present. Since the last recording, again, can't even really begin to explain on how many levels and how big certain things are that are taking place in my world. Stuff that is 100% unexpected taking place. In some instances, damn near instant manifestation of, in this case, opportunities that I would say are directly linked to a courageous step, courageous for me and where I took in what I would call my local race world. And nothing that's that drastic in and of itself, but in the deeper story of Alyson, it has tremendous meaning. And apologies again, I am intending to keep this still at a very high level and to only glimpse down into specifics here and there, for a number of reasons that aren't necessary to go into. But I am purposely, again, trying to keep it high level. In the past 2 weeks, I'm just trying to drop a few points of some big things that took place. Taking this step and providing feedback within my local race world, and doing so no longer fearing what effect that may have. And in this case, I felt that I was taking a little bit of a risk of not being offered future work, because Alyson expressing her opinion is not something that I have done outside my own arena of work. It's not something that I have spent much time at all in my adult life doing, despite the fact that I feel I have incredibly valuable insight in some of the worlds that I have worked for a number of years. But because I tend to play the roles in the regular game, which is to say outside of my own world of work, I tend to be in roles that are pretty low on the hierarchies and pretty low on the totem poles, and as such am not really asked my opinion very often. And I respect that, because it doesn't really, it's just a waste of energy if I share thoughts or opinions with people who aren't really open to hear them. And I've learned the hard way over the years that really not many people are really interested in hearing my 2 cents. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut until and unless an opportunity where there's like I don't know how to explain it. It's a particular feeling. I'm most concerned with having the energy it takes to express, have at least a minimal level of, a chance of being received in a way that can serve something going forward. Just to express something for the sake of expressing is not something that I'm looking to engage in consciously very much going forward. I'm really trying to hone in and have the biggest bang for my buck in terms of all of my energy expended. And for me, again, that's defined as having the furthest ripple effect, the furthest ripple effect. And if I can control it, in my intention is for it to be a positive ripple effect, to affect others in some sort of way that they can deem quote unquote positive in their world. And of course, that can look like many, many, many different things. So me taking that step, big deal for me. Big deal. And within 48 hours, I'm not kidding, 2 new opportunities fell in my lap. Now, neither one is confirmed 100% right now. It should be within the next week, week and a half. And I will definitely share at that point. But right now, I'm just trying to be even keel and be okay, even if these opportunities don't pan out. The fact that they presented themselves so quickly after me taking this risk of losing work, 2 new opportunities for work, and to be honest, much more suitable of what I'm looking to be a part of than the work that I'm currently trying to negotiate. That was huge. That was a huge piece of validating evidence for me, and reinforcement for me to continue to be unafraid about being more of my authentic self and standing up and speaking for myself and or for a bigger speaking for an experience. So my own experience and my own is the only thing I can really most accurately speak to at any given point. But I am somebody that is out there living, observing, and have had these experiences and know that I sense I have an ability to speak to some of them from a more general, beyond just my isolated experience. I have an ability, and in some case, I almost feel like I must give voice to some of these things. Again, sorry for keeping this at a high level, but that was a pretty big thing that took place. Then I had 2 meetings with 2 different guys in my little Sarasota life, 2 unprecedented meetings with these guys. They both have kind of been in my life for one for a few years, one for 1 year, in very, very different ways. But turns out, and one I knew was an artist, one I didn't know was an artist. And having each of the experiences that I did with both of these guys in the past week is going to be life changing. Like even a small life change right now is not small. There's nothing that's small. As small as it may appear on the surface, nothing happening in my world right now is small. So very excited about both of these meetings, and the energy is sort of ignited within me, because in both cases and in different ways, the artist within me is really coming alive, and that directly relates to this book as well, because Jose Arguelles called himself, amongst other things, he was a professor. He was a highly educated guy who wrote dozens and dozens of publications and books, in addition to bringing forth the ancient Mayan knowledge that serves as the foundation of this version of the 13 moon calendar. He called himself a planetary artist. And one of the mantras of the 13 moon calendar is time is art, as opposed to the mantra of the current mainstream paradigm, time is money. These are big things, and another big piece of the book and the energy behind the 13 moon calendar is it's entirely based on synchronicity. That time in and of itself is based on synchronicity. Synchronicity is a concept that was first introduced to me way back in high school when I first stumbled upon James Redfield's book called The Celestine Prophecy. A profound book on my spiritual journey. James Redfield proceeded to write many sequels to The Celestine Prophecy. It's a whole series. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. It was also made into I would say a Hollywood movie. A Hollywood producer made it, but it wasn't, like a mainstream movie, but it is available, I think, on Netflix. I haven't looked and searched for it recently, but there is a movie version that was very well done, in my opinion, of the Celestine Prophecy. That is when the concept of synchronicity first entered my consciousness. It's something that resonated immediately, and it is the mode by which I have lived my life since taking my big leap of faith and having my point of no return spiritual awakening on November 18th, 2010, and taking the huge leap of faith that I did on November 30th, 2012, when I launched my company of me. So again, all these things are interrelated despite the disparate pieces, how they may come across as disparate pieces. They're all absolutely interrelated. And how things are coming together right now, I can see part of it, but I'm actually not, I'm working to keep my own ego out of it, and really trying to surrender myself to the greater than thus energy working through me, because it's definitely got a hold of me in some way that is beyond Alyson. And I'm really working to make 2023 an entire year of letting go and surrendering in this way. And that brings me to, yes, I do still acknowledge the Gregorian calendar in certain ways, simply because the mass momentum of energy around me still follows the Gregorian calendar. So while I may not celebrate the Gregorian calendar's new year and party like crazy on New Year's Eve and celebrate on New Year's Day in a way that a lot of people in our culture do, I still very much acknowledge and piggyback off of the collective energy that does take notice at this time of year and takes a little bit of personal stock and sets some goals. A lot of people, not everybody, of course, but a lot of people kind of set out to have a different sort of year than what they had in the previous year, or a better year. They have specific goals. And so I definitely piggyback on that energy. And it coincides with about halfway through the 13 moon year. So I also use it as sort of a half year checkpoint this time of year. And 2023 on the Gregorian calendar year, I am bound and determined, is going to be a year unlike any other, in terms of what I'm able to produce and share, as my company of me, in a way that is going to step up, just the organization of what it is that I'm working to be and do with my company of me. Let's see, what else? Oh, how could I forget? I think I may have mentioned this at the beginning, but I also happen to have a psychedelic experience shared with two very close friends, from my farm community last week. And I hadn't had a psychedelic experience like this, in a very, very, very long time. In fact, it definitely had its own flavor and uniqueness. And as many psychedelic experiences, if not all of them, have been for me, they're nothing short of life altering as well. I mean, that's what makes plant medicine so incredibly special. Is it absolutely, if the intention is there and you aren't fearful of the experience and you're open, it can not only provide tremendous amounts of healing, and purging, which this did, as well. It also opened up, arguably, experiences of new boundaries of my own consciousness. And what made it an unbelievably special and unique thing this time was that it was shared. It was shared with two others, but with one of the people, we were hooked in like nothing I've ever experienced yet. Yet at the same time, I've imagined it. And the mental telepathy that was going on, the visuals, and how it was all aligning to what I was reading in the book about Jose and his journey, and about the 13 moon calendar, and what I've literally been experiencing more and more of in recent years. I will continue to say the shifting is immense. And I'm fucking ready. I mean, I have been ready. I have felt like I've been ready for a decade. Clearly, I still had a lot of growing and maturing and healing to do, before I could really be prepared for the magic and power of what it is to align to spirit and to nature and to our greater selves and the greater energy of source of creation, and allowing it to play through us and with us, with trust and love and faith and belief that we can assemble and be a different version collectively as humanity than what I feel is happening at present. I don't know if it's the overachiever in me, I don't know if it's the type A student in me. I don't know if it's the high performing athlete within me, but I am one that will always pursue constant expansion, constant growth, constant discovering new things about me and perfecting old things about me that have room for greater quote unquote perfection. And personally, I think we can do a lot better, a lot, lot better as a collective, for one another, to one another. I'm not settling for this collective, and my whole journey and my whole world is about genuinely trying to align to a different version of reality that is more accurate, in terms of representing the greater truths with a capital T, because this reality certainly isn't. It's unbelievably constricted, restricted, and controlled, and keeps us from tapping into and connecting and knowing our greater selves, the unbelievable untapped abilities and potentialities within us, how much room we have to play and create with others, and to create a more joyful, easier world for many. Because while this current version works for some, the statistics will tell you that it's still not working for many, and I dare I say most, of the planet's population. And as long as I'm in body, I'm not okay with that. I mean, it's not a judgment of anybody else. It's just my personal soul seems to be drawn to continue to expand, first and foremost in myself. And I know when I do that, the world around me changes and alters. And I'm only interested in it becoming, like I said, the parts of the 13 moon that align to me, more in line with nature, more in line with love, more in line with creativity and artistic expression, more in line with uniqueness and independence and sovereignty. And this is a year that I know a lot of that's going to manifest for me. It may or may not appear any different to people outside of me, but I have learned to not care, or at least I care a lot less than I used to care. I'm seeing the magic unfold in front of me. It's unbelievable, and I continue to believe I'm ready to face it and experience it and play with it and learn from it. Yeah, so far, not this month has not disappointed in any way, shape, or form. And before I conclude this, I also remembered that this date is pretty important in the quote unquote past of the lifetime of Alyson, of my character. Two seemingly different things and different reasons, but again, people that know me in any capacity from my past, I have a thing with numbers. I love numbers, which again is not a synchronicity, because as it turns out, Jose was huge with math, and the structure of reality has actually a ton to do with mathematical calculations. All of the energy of the 13 moon calendar, despite it being delivered in words, is actually at its foundation mathematical calculations. So again, no accident that I've loved numbers this whole life. I've used numbers as a big guiding post for myself. I loved math. And I remember dates and times and things in a way that a lot of people don't. So yes, this date in my past, I have a lot of Capricorn friends in my life that over the years I have been close to, particularly close to a lot of people who fall under the sun sign of Capricorn, in the astrological world. And today was the birthday of two people in my life, from my past. I'm not close to either one. One, a woman I used to work with at USF. For the period of time we worked together there, she was one of the friends that crossed my path that I never thought wouldn't be a friend. But so great, only great memories. Today is her birthday, and today is also the birthday of my ex-husband. Not somebody that I'm still friends with. Represents definitely a particular time in my life, most notably of just being afraid of diving into the very hard work of discovering who I was. I married him. I had absolutely positively no clue who I was, and I made that decision. I cared about him, but I was in no place to maturely make a decision to commit my life to anybody when I had absolutely no clue who I was even committing, what I was even committing to this other person. I didn't even know who I was. What was I thinking, trying to believe I was in a space to commit my life to somebody else? In any case, his birthday is today, so I energetically wish him a happy birthday. And on a much heavier, sadder note, I'm not 100% certain on this, but I'm about 95% certain that this date marks the, I think it's the 5-year anniversary of the death of my high school basketball coach, of his wife, the death of his wife. It's funny how that came out because in some way, I don't want to say it was the death of him because he continues on in his damn, I'm pretty sure he's in his early 80s now, and he still coaches, helps to coach at Canton High School in suburban Detroit. He's still in incredible health given his age. But they were together over 50 years, and she died of a brain aneurysm in her sleep. And so it was sudden. It was very sudden and 100% unexpected. And I've seen him a couple of times since her death. I always see him when I go home to Michigan because he was a very, very important figure, as was his wife Wendy, in my life in high school. Some of my darkest times in this life were my late sophomore, junior, and senior year. Some very dark times when my basketball program and the people and my friends in that program quite literally kept me alive, especially that junior year, which was the hardest of my life. Um, so when I learned of her loss, it, it it's just big, right? I haven't lost many people that have been close to me. I've been very fortunate in that regard. And it wasn't like I spoke to Wendy and Bob very regularly, but the magnitude of the spot in my heart that they both held, my heart just broke when I got that news, and it still breaks. And so, I'm hesitant to send a text to him, but I'm sure that he's already thinking of the loss. So I've got to send that acknowledgement because, like I said, I can't help it. I remember dates and things, and I'm almost certain this was the date that she passed away. And I think it's the 5-year anniversary. So, um, given that I believe that time is radial and spherical as opposed to linear, and as such, I believe that there is only this now moment and infinite perspectives of this now moment. Even though the passing of Wendy was in the quote unquote past, there are energetics of it that are in the present. So, in honor of that, I send a heavenly hello to her and a earthly blessing to Bob, my old amazing Hall of Fame high school basketball coach, who definitely gave me tools beyond tools to be the best version of myself in this lifetime. So, on that note, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Wendy. I know he misses you, Wen, and I sure as hell miss seeing you when I go up to Michigan. The way I'll never forget Wendy, the way Wendy said my last name, it like just rings in my ear. And she was just this happiest person all the time. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge her life and how she always will stay with us beyond. Okay, so Happy New Year to all of you, and I hope you all had a great holiday. We'll talk again soon.